Morning, everybody. So, welcome to Compassionate Response to COVID-19 with my buddy. So, we're almost coming up to a year. It's like today's the 9th of March. So, it was the 16th of March last year that Boris Johnson first announced a kind of ban on gatherings, and it was the day after that I started doing these sessions, and I started doing them every day. But I'm down to two a week now as a more realistic goal. So I hope you're well. And so today's topic, I thought that well, actually I was in a kind of a meeting with other odd members yesterday, and it's always a knotty topic, the whole thing about feelings and emotions, and because feelings is the normal word that we often use when we mean emotions, but in Buddhism, feeling isn't something that we're kind of doing, because emotions are things that we're doing. Feeling or vedana is just the experience of pleasure and pain. So yeah, there's a lot of confusion in this area, and I think just having the discussion last night, and then needing to clarify the whole thing a bit more for myself actually has been helpful. So I'm going to explore that later on. But before that, we'll do a little bit of seated body work, and then loving kindness meditation. So just begin by just rub your hands together, backs of your hands. And squeeze. Give your face a bit of a wash with your hands. Just wake everything up a little bit. Into your collarbones. It's always good to just be intuitive, but just try and sense what might be helpful to you, just in your own experience, just working through your own experience rather than some idea. So this is something that people do, kind of tapping with your fingertips on the upper part of your chest around here as a way of stimulating your emotions. Something called tapping, tapping. It's called. And shake hands, shake everything out. And just put your arms to each side, and then stick your fingers out, and then just do little circles. So do them clockwise to start with, and just try and work out, do you want to do bigger circles or smaller circles, or go faster or slower? Change the direction, go the other way around. Try and open your chest a bit more. Okay, that'll do. And then just settling into an awareness of your body. And just let your body just sit there, so reflecting that your body knows how to sit down. And you just need to balance your spine so that your weight goes as directly down into the ground as possible. And really, your mind and emotions need to be not involved really with thinking about your body and what it's doing. In fact, it needs to be the other way around, so your body needs to be being a support for your mind and emotions to be able to freely engage with whatever it is that they want to engage with. And this is the point behind meditation posture, the idea of meditation posture, that it leaves our psyche in the space to work on whatever it wants to work on. So in the Metta meditation, loving kindness meditation, we're kind of working on our emotions towards ourselves and towards other beings. So tuning into how you're feeling right now. Do you feel happy? Do you feel sad? Do you feel at ease? Do you feel under stress? Just trying to be honest about what's actually going on. And just having a sense of the the tapestry of feelings that happen through through time, the range of experiences that you go through in terms of feelings. And having a sense that some of what you call feelings, um, some of your experience of feeling is just presented to you. For instance, the feeling in your body, the feeling of sensations there in your body. Feeling of touch, the feeling of warmth or cold. And some of which might be about what we'd normally call emotions. So, do you feel upset? Do you feel angry? Do you feel righteous indignation? You've not been treated how you would like to be treated. Maybe sometimes you've experienced a feeling of lack. Or you've not had enough time to do something, or not had the resources. A feeling of impotence or something like that. You see people suffering around the world, and then you feel kind of frustrated that there's not a lot you could do about it. So, with this kind of full picture of your experience of feeling, moving into the Metta meditation. Morning, Richard. So in the Metta Bhavana, we're working with our emotional response towards ourself and towards others. So just trying to be honest about what that is at the moment. You know, how are you responding to yourself? You know, there's three basic options. So it might be that you're responding to yourself in a bit of a critical way. You know, you've not quite done what you wanted to do yesterday, or you feel a bit of a sense of lack in terms of your own ambitions or something. Secondly, you might feel a bit blank. You know, you kind of not, you don't just feel maybe a bit indifferent to yourself. Or thirdly, you might feel a sense of warmth and connection with yourself. Sense of care and emotional interest. So, according to the Buddha, nothing arises without a cause. So, the fact that you are feeling critical of yourself, will it be arising because of a cause? So it might be that you have objectives and that you're not meeting. And this is how you're measuring yourself. This is how you're seeing yourself as a, as a bit of an object, really, a bit of a thing who hasn't done what he wanted to do. I think hasn't done what it wanted to do. And if this is the case, we can just ask ourselves, well, is this what I am? Am I just a thing? Am I just defined by my job or my success, whatever? My esteem of myself? Or am I human? I'm a human being who's fallible, who's sensitive to their experience and what happens to them, who doesn't want to suffer, who wants to be happy and well, fulfilled, and have a meaningful life. So shifting our view to be more in line with this, which is the reality of our situation. This is what we are. And then it's probably likely that we will naturally want to care for ourselves if we're in touch with what we actually are. May I be well. May I be free from suffering. So just tuning into what care feels like. Maybe imagine that you've got a little bird in your hands, and you're just holding it gently. Holding it with a sense of care. So this is how you're holding yourself in the meditation in some way. So now in the second stage, bring into mind a good friend. And again, we've got these three options. In terms of our emotional response to our friend. But what's quite likely in terms of our response to our friend is that when we think of our friend, we have an experience of pleasure. We might feel critical of them or indifferent, but it's quite likely that we'll feel pleasure. And that pleasure comes about probably because friends are often helpful to us and nice to be around. But this perspective is that we have here is more to do with us than it is to do with them. So just trying to shift your view of your friend from one which is about their effect on you, and which is more about their experience of their life. Their humanity, their vulnerability. And then if we can make this shift, then it's quite natural that we would want to feel this care towards them that we just establish towards ourselves. To hold them in a way which is gentle and careful, as it were. May they be well. So just checking that you're still just letting your body sit there, that you're not forcing anything, you're not holding yourself up. The body is just balanced. And then your muscles feel confident that they can let go because the bones of your body are supporting the weight of your body. And your mind and emotions don't need to be involved with your body at all. So they're free to engage with meditation. So now we bring to mind what we call a neutral person. So it's just somebody in the world who we don't have any strong feelings towards, either for or against. Just pick anybody that's just, maybe they work in the local shop or something like that. And just working out honestly what your emotional response is towards this person. So it's quite likely to be something like a little bit of indifference, maybe have a bit of warmth towards them as well. Maybe we just look at them a little bit as an object rather than a human being. It's quite difficult to just be thinking of the whole world as human beings. So we tend to sort of take a bit of a shortcut and just think of people as objects. So just allowing yourself to just gently shift your view of the neutral person in the direction of seeing their humanity, their vulnerability, their hopes and their fears. To the point where you naturally just want to, as it were, hold them gently, kindly in your psyche, in your awareness. May they be well. If you find yourself struggling, just really try to avoid using any force. Just looking for ways in which this sense of care would naturally arise in relation to the neutral person. What do you need to do for that just to naturally arise? So now in the fourth stage, we bring to mind somebody that we find difficult. Just let the neutral person fade from our mind. So it's quite likely that the reason that we find this person difficult is something to do with an experience that they've given us or haven't given us, have taken away from us. Maybe we don't like the tone that they use when they're speaking to us, or what might be implied in their speech, or the fact that they maybe seem to just ignore us or something, not give us the respect that we think we deserve. So maybe we think that they've hurt our feelings in some way or other. Maybe we have an idea that things should be a particular way. And that this somehow hasn't happened, because of the difficult person. So again, what we seem to be doing here is to be focusing on ourselves and our experience and our kind of ambitions and things for our lives. But the point of this meditation isn't to be looking at ourselves and what might or might not happen for us. It's to be looking at our attitude towards all beings. So if we're seeing the difficult person as an object that's getting in our way, we're not going to be seeing them as a human being. So for this short period of this stage, it's trying to shift our view of the difficult person so that it is more in line with what they actually are. A human being in their own right. With their own hopes, fears, challenges, ambitions. I was trying to have a kind of way of holding them in a kind of gentle way, wishing them well. And just remembering that loving kindness is an emotion, and that with any emotion we can feel it a little bit, or we can feel it a lot. So just trying to allow ourselves to become a little bit more passionate about the well-being of the difficult person. Really trying to get behind the idea of their welfare, them doing well. So now in the final stage, just bring to mind all four people that you've used in the meditation. Ourselves, our friend, neutral person, difficult person. And as it were, just kind of holding all four in the same kind of gentle, caring way, wanting them to be well. Wanting things to work out for them. And again, just checking that you're not using any sort of force, but just allowing things to arise naturally. What do you need to do for this naturally to occur? And then adding into the mix people that will live with you and around you. So shifting your view of these people from being objects, less like objects, more like human beings. And then expanding out a bit further so that people in your neighborhood, in your town, people in different racial groups, genders, income brackets, just trying to shift your view so that you see them more for what they are as human beings, in a way that you would naturally begin to want to care for them. Just keep going into the world, including animals and birds, fish, insects, people in other countries. And in the end, all living beings everywhere in the universe. So just gradually letting yourself come out of that meditation in your own time. Okay. So today's topic is feelings. Right. Yeah, so I think I remember back in something like about 2009 or 2010, something like that. There was the Dalai Lama. Well, basically, backstory is that the Dalai Lama has always had quite an interest in science, and in the 1970s, when Chogyam Trungpa went to America and set up his movement there, for it, it's like a bit of a Western. Oops, I've got an unstable connection. Like a Western university, and he got people like poets to come and do sets, well-known poets to come and do sort of sessions there, and the idea was to relate Buddhism to Western culture, and he also got scientists to come along and sort of talk as well. So there was somebody called Francisco Varela, who was a cognitive scientist, a very well-known cognitive scientist who was involved with Chogyam Trungpa at the time, with his movement. And he did some sessions on Buddhism and science. And then that grew into something called the Mind and Life Institute. So when you see these pictures of monks, Tibetan monks with electrodes attached to the brain, to the heads, where they're measuring the brain, measuring their happiness and all that sort of stuff. This is basically come out of the Mind and Life Institute. So back in, I think whenever it was, 2009, I think it was, they had every year they have a conference. So they had a conference in Dharamsala in India, which, the Dalai Lama was present at. And they had a load of well-known Buddhists at it. So Robert Thurman is a well-known American scholar and Tibetan Buddhist, and who I think who's translated many Buddhist texts, and he was being interviewed, and he was saying about feelings, that the Buddhist term vedana wasn't anything to do with feelings, and at the time I remember, because I've been working on these ideas of my own, and I remember sending him something to do with. So this shows how long I've had these ideas. This is 11 years ago. I had this theory around this. I kind of sent it to him. I didn't get a reply, but it's all right. But so people kind of, it's confusing because the word feelings in English is often quite broad, just quite broad, really, So under feelings and emotions, you've got things like jealousy, betrayal, being let down, tender, wounded, impaired, damaged. These are hurt feelings. Damaged, criticized, abused, punished, rejected. And happy feelings are amused, delighted, glad, pleased, charmed, grateful, optimistic, content, joyful, enthusiastic, loving. Sad, depressed, desperate, dejected, heavy, crushed, disgusted, upset, sorrowful, weepy, frustrated. Or confident, strong, brave, assured, certain, prepared, successful, encouraged, peaceful, secure, relaxed, comforted. Or strengthened, motivated, focused, invigorated, determined, inspired, creative, healthy, renewed, vibrant, refreshed. So there's a list of feelings and emotions. So basically, the Buddhist view, the Buddhist view is that you've got the Four Foundations of Mindfulness. There we go again. Four Foundations of Mindfulness. So body, feeling, which is vedana, mind, which includes emotions, three things: emotions, attention, and thoughts. And then views, which is our map of the world. So we think about things in order to establish our view. If there's two options, we need to think about them to decide which view we're going to have. So, but once we've got a view, this is our map of the world. So, in my way of reading this, body and feeling are just presented to us in each moment. So in each moment, my body's in a particular state. So, for instance, it's energized, or it's dull and stodgy, my energy's stodgy, and then that has an effect on my mind, So if your body's like tired and my energy's blocked, then often it's hard to concentrate, or it's hard to connect, or to be aware, and that sort of thing. So that's body, what in a sense of in the moment that I'm having that experience of a body, to the tangible. I've got that, to the tangible. What's tangible, and then feeling is the tone of that, is a hedonic, what's called a hedonic tone. So whatever I'm experiencing, like in terms of pleasure or pain. So for instance, when I when I kind of stub my toe or something, that's painful. When somebody gives me a compliment, it's pleasurable, isn't it? When I don't get what I want, it's painful. When I do get what I want is pleasurable. So feeling is just this. It's nothing other than pleasure or pain. Like in a way detached from its source. It has a source, but in a way, feeling itself is just pleasure or pain. Or neutrality, one of the three. But it does have a source. So basically, you've got three basic sources for feeling. You've got bodily feeling, and in Buddhism, this is called body. In Buddhism is kaya in Pali, Kaya. So bodily feeling is called kayika vedana. Feeling is vedana. So kayika vedana, right? So when you get people often hear about the two arrows, the sutra of the arrows, this Salata Sutta. It's a Buddhist, a well-known Buddhist sutra or scripture. So the first arrow is this. It's in that sutra. It actually says kayika vedana. So it's like we have a physical experience, a difficult physical experience. It's the first arrow. What then happens often is we get a second arrow, which is in that scripture is called Chaitasika Vedana, CETASIKA. It means mental feeling. So basically, it comes from here, I think. Views conditioning feeling. So it's a bit like, so what's a view? So a view is something like things should be like this. Things should be a particular way. As a view. Now, if that doesn't happen, then it's painful. Like, oh no, this shouldn't be happening. Well, it is happening. Sorry. So it's painful when the things that we should think should be happening are happening. Or it might be something like, you have the view that you're a failure or something like that. I'm a failure. So it's painful. Or it might be a view that I'm fantastic. So that's pleasurable. So that's the second type of way feeling is conditioned, mental feeling. Okay, and then the third way that it's conditioned is from states of mind. So states of mind can either lead to happiness when they're called skillful, or they can lead to suffering when they're called unskillful. So an unskillful state of mind causes feeling, particular types of feelings. So for instance, when we're in a state of hatred, and we see our enemy coming down the street, it's painful to us. We experience pain. When we we want a new computer and we get one, and that's fueled by greed, then it's pleasurable. We get what we want, it's pleasurable. So when we're thinking about acting on feeling, we need to work out, well, where the feeling is coming from as to whether we should act on it, So in terms of bodily feeling, we need to be looking after ourselves as best we can, looking after our body as best we can. And then what happens is we maximize the amount of pleasure that we get from the body and minimize the amount of pain. So if we don't look after our body, we give ourselves unnecessary pain. So that's why body work's so important in Buddhism. And pacing yourself if you've got an injury, and that's this sort of thing. So it's like we look after ourselves, and then we maximize the pleasure that comes from the body. In terms of views, we try and make our views in line with reality, so that when something bad happens, we don't rail against it and complain and agonize, because that agonizing is the second arrow. It's like we get hit by the second arrow, it's like painful. So we don't need to do that. We can just try and accept things that are happening when they do happen, that we can't change, And then in terms of feeling that comes about from our states of mind, the type of feeling that comes about through unskillful mental states like greed and hatred has a name. And in the Satipatthana Sutra, it's called worldly feeling, or samisa vedana. It's often translated as something like raw, or what's the word? It's kind of almost like amisa. Amisa is something like, I can't remember now. Is it meat or something? Anyway, it's like Theravada Buddhists tend to translate it like that, as like just sorry, I forgot what it is now. Raw, something like that. And then you've got another. So in a way, what if you have worldly feeling, because it then leads to states of either addiction if you follow it. So if you keep pursuing greed, you get more attached to the things that you want, So it leads to suffering in the end, to the extent that you become dependent on that thing. So you shouldn't act on worldly feeling. If you act on hatred, you just break the bonds between yourself and other living beings, you just damage them more and more. So you break that connection, and that leads to suffering in the end. So not acting on worldly feeling, or samisa vedana. And you've got another type of feeling that comes about through states of mind, which is skillful mental states. For instance, compassion, or mudita, which karuna is compassion, mudita is sympathetic joy. So when you see somebody doing well, you feel happy for them, So when we're in states of skillful mental states, again, it leads to pleasure and pain. So we feel compassion for somebody, and it's when we see them suffering, it's painful to us, So that pain then motivates us to act and actually go and help them. So we should act on feelings that come about from skillful mental states, like compassion or mudita. Like we're in a state of metta, and we see somebody doing well, and we congratulate them, and we show how happy we are that they are doing well, and then they feel even better because they see how happy we are at that. You know. So this is the basic map, really, of feeling, of vedana, or what we call in Buddhism vedana. So I think sort of trying to, when we're talking about feelings and emotions, we need to drag things back to this understanding, to this map, you know. So feeling is here, and it's something that is just presented in the moment. We can't do anything about. It's experience. And emotion is over here, and it is something we can do something about. So emotion, in a way, is just our response to feeling. You know, so, you know, we experience pain down here, and our emotion might be to avoid it or get away from it. Or we experience pleasure down here, our emotion might be to move towards it, to have more of it, that sort of thing. So these are the basics of feeling and emotion, or vedana, and this is chitta. This mind is the Pali term is chitta. Okay. Right. Moving on to feelings. You know, having your feelings hurt. So I just looking on the internet, and I found this, what looks like a spoof song, and it's called "Hurt Feelings" by Flight of the Conchords, and it says, "Some people say that rappers don't have feelings. We have feelings." Some people say that we are not rappers. We are rappers. That hurts our feelings. Hurts our feelings when you say we're not rappers. Some people say that rappers are invincible. We're vincible. Anyway, it goes on like that. So basically, you know, the word feelings. What is this from a Buddhist point of view? Well, I think here's a kind of map based on the same thing we've just been looking at there. So over here we've got emotion, and down here we've got feeling, and up here we've got views. So say, for instance, you know, our partner has forgotten it's our birthday. You know, that's probably a bit extreme. That wouldn't really happen, would it? Very much. But say somebody we know has forgotten it's our birthday. You know, so what happens is, you know, we have the sense that you've hurt you know, they've hurt my feelings. You know, we feel hurt because of that. Right? So it is an actual pain. You know, it's vedana, hurt feelings. But I think it's the reason it comes about is more to do with our view of ourself. You know, our ego. So it's like what we have is something like this. You know, no present, not getting a present means this. What this implies is I am not important. You know, so I am not important is a view. And it leads to, here we got chaitasika vedana, mental feeling. So my feelings are hurt because I am not important. So I think, you know, when you get people who focus on their feelings a lot, you know, they're often quite sensitive to what people think about them. So it's almost like people can sort of come with a sort of a, almost like some sort of demand about how people should be seeing them, and then if that doesn't happen, then their feelings get hurt. So it's kind of like, it's almost as if everything is constellating around them, and their self-image, their view of themselves. So it can be very difficult. That can be quite difficult to deal with, really, if somebody's presenting to you, that you've hurt their feelings. So what is a Buddhist response then to feelings? Well, I suppose if somebody forgets your birthday, then a kind of Buddhist response is like, oh well, to err is human. It's like, well, they just forgot. So it's like you would forgive them for that. So I think often, this view, is the view that things should be a particular way is often what leads to this. We've got this fixed view about how things are, or how things should be, and this and to the extent that things aren't like that, then it's gonna cause suffering. So if we're going about in the world kind of expecting everybody sort of to treat us in a particular way, and we've got this wish list for how we want everybody to be with us, and then if it doesn't happen, then we feel hurt and we feel disappointed and dejected or whatever it is. Then that's just putting a sort of this burden on the world, of like expectation. I expect this to happen. I expect you to be like this with me. So in a way, what happens is what we're focusing on is our right. What we think is our right to be treated in a particular way. And I remember, like, when I was training for ordination, and we do a retreat called Spiritual Friendship. So it's all about relationships with people, but it's also about how to make sure that those are informed by the Buddha, by something higher, by the Dharma, spirit. So it's spiritual friendship. It's like, how do you come into relationship with people in a way which is informed by Buddhism? So on that retreat, the leaders sort of talked about focusing on duties rather than rights. So, rather than thinking about what's the world giving me, it's better to think about, well, what's my duty to the world? What how can I serve the world? So I think that then translates into things like the Metabhavana, loving kindness meditation. So we sort of try and kind of get behind the world and what the world needs and serve the world, and to develop care for the world, care for ourselves, care for other beings, and to try and kind of build that up as much as possible and make it make a passion, make some sort of like a passion for the world's welfare as strong as possible. Emotion, can be unlimited in its intensity. So this is what we kind of try and do. So we end up moving shifting our focus from my feelings, what's the world doing to me, to what am I doing to the world? How am I helping the world? How am I bringing something positive into the world? So I think, just to summarise, I think it's been great that I had that discussion last night and with the other order members, and it has actually forced me into being clearer about this whole area of feelings. So I hope you found that helpful, and that's it for today. So I'm just going to hold up a lotus and wish